Alright, so in this video I'm going to demonstrate the process that I've learned for making my mead and the process that I've used to make 3 batches so far. So I'm going to start off by showing you exactly what you're going to need to make your mead. And this batch we're going to be making is going to be a 1 gallon. And of course, if you make half a gallon, 3 gallons, 5 gallons, 6 gallons, you're going to need more of each of these things. But hopefully this foundation I'll give you will allow you to expand and experiment further in your own journey. So first thing that you need to make your mead is, of course, water. And this is local spring water that I gathered myself, which would be the ideal choice. If you can't get that, use the best that you can. The next thing that you're going to need is an empty glass jar. This could be a 3 gallon, a 5 gallon, a 2.5 gallon, wherever you have. This happens to be a 1 gallon, which I got a 4-pack of them at a local brewing store called My Old Kentucky Home Brews, and I got 4 of these jars for $1. So you're going to need that. And then the next thing you're going to need is what's called an airlock. Now these come in a few different forms and they all do pretty much the same function. Basically what this does is it allows carbon dioxide to escape out of the mead as it's fermenting, but doesn't allow air to get back in. And so all you do with this is you fill it up with a little bit of water and you'll see it'll start to bubble. It's really easy. And these things are like $1, $1.50, and then the cork is like 60 cents. The jar you're looking at, $4, $3, so relatively inexpensive. And then your water, pretty much free. The next thing you're going to need is, of course, local raw honey. So this is about 24 or so ounces of local honey that I'm going to be using, and the usual ratio is about 2 parts water to 1 part honey. Now I usually use less honey than that just because I want a drier mead, but just stick to that rough ratio. And if it's a little more or a little less, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So the next thing that you're going to need is yeast. And this brand that I have is White Labs Pure Yeast and Fermentation, and their website is whitelabs.com. And I just got this again at the local brewing store. This yeast was $6.75, $7, something like that. But the yeast that I was using before, which I got at a local liquor store, was just a little packet of, I don't even remember the brand, but it was like 50 cents, and it was champagne yeast or champagne or wine yeast, one of those. Both will work, I think, and you can use them, and again, that's like 50 cents. And that's part of the process. So essentially that's all you need to make your honey. You need a container, you need water, you need honey, and you need yeast, and that's it. But since I'm going to be making a full hive honey, I'm going to be adding this stuff here, which is not local, but it is raw, and it is a blend of raw honey, royal jelly, bee pollen, and propolis. So it's kind of all of the products from the hive are going to be in this mead, so it's going to make it even more healing and even more beneficial. And if you don't know the benefits of royal jelly or bee pollen or propolis, I really encourage you to research those. If you do know the benefits, then you know how incredibly healing and delicious and health promoting this beverage is going to be. So the last thing you're going to need is, of course, a spoon to get your honey out and a wooden spoon to stir. And then the very last thing is some sort of pan or pot to mix your water and your honey in. So that's the next step of the process. I'm going to fill this thing up with water and stir the honey in, and then I'll be back to show you the next step of the process. Alright, so the next step of the process, now that we have all of our materials, is to take our honey and mix it with our water. Now because this honey is liquefied, it's going to mix pretty easy. So all I'm going to do is take my honey and quite literally just dump it into the water and then stir it up. Now, some recipes actually tell for you to boil the honey in water for like 20 minutes, which seems pretty stupid because it's raw honey and you want it to be raw, so why would you boil it? Makes no sense. Sometimes you do need to heat the water and the honey just slightly to, right above body temperature just to get it to mix. But so far I haven't really needed to do that because it's been pretty warm and I've just stirred it up, and that's been, sufficient up until now. So as you can see, I'm just dumping all of this honey in here into the water, making a mess, getting sticky honey everywhere. But that's okay because it's part of the fun. So the next thing I'm going to do is take this stuff, which is the royal jelly, the propolis, and the bee pollen. And this may require actually a little bit of heating. So I'm just going to literally take this big sticky mess and drop it into my water and honey. So this part of the process, it can be a little messy, it can be a little sticky, but honestly it's honey. It's going to taste good, it's going to be fun, so it's not a big deal. So that's it. Now that I've got all of this in here, this mixture here that's kind of like peanut butter, I'm going to just stir it up, and when it's all dissolved, then I'll add it to my jar. So I'll be back in a second to let you see that part of the process. Alright, so here, as you can see, if you'll come over and look, I've already finished stirring my honey and bee pollen, propolis, and royal jelly. And you can see it's taken on this rich, dark color, and the smell is incredible. The taste is, of course, awesome, really sweet and delicious. Now the next step of the process is I'm going to pour my honey water mixture into my glass jar. It's very helpful at this point to have a funnel. I got this funnel also at the brewing supply store for like $3. So very economical. So first thing that's going to go in this bottle is our sweet mead yeast. So I'm going to open this up and then just dump it in there. Let it all kind of just jump in. And the reason why I'm pouring it in at the bottom is because I want to make sure that my yeast is evenly distributed throughout my honey water mixture. So now that I have this mixed up, I have the funnel ready, I'm just going to pour this in without hopefully making too much of a mess. So as you can see, we're coming up short of a gallon here on water. So the reason I did that is because obviously my pot of water, my pot could not hold a whole gallon of water. And if I try to fill it up to the top and then put the honey in and then try to mix it, it's going to go everywhere. And the reason I know that is because I've done it before and it's not fun. So keep that in mind, that you can always mix a little bit in a smaller container and then come along with your water and then simply top this off until it gets up to, you know, almost to the top. I like to leave a little bit of room to let it ferment and bubble and, you know, do its thing. So right about there, it's done. So now the next part of the process, now that this is all mixed together, is I'm going to take my cork, put on my cork, and then take my airlock, put in, there's a little line in there that you'll see in your airlock, and I like to just take the water, I like to use spring water, just fill it up, put the cap back on, push it down into your cork to make sure you got a good seal so that no air can get in. And now that this is ready, just give it a good shake so that all the yeast and the honey and the water and everything is nice and mixed in. And then that's it. That's all we need to do. The yeast is going to take over from here. They're going to eat the fructose, the glucose, the sucrose. They're going to eat up all the sugars, and they're going to ferment it and turn this into a really delicious healing mead. So that's the process. If you wanted to use an herbal tea, if you want to use a chaga tea or a nettle root or whatever herbal base you want to use, instead of water, just do the same thing, but you want to cook your tea, let it cool down, and then add your honey, stir it up, let it, you know, be at just kind of body temperature, and then just repeat the exact process that we just did, and you have yourself a good mead. And typically, from what I've read, mead takes about 3 to 6 weeks to ferment. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how much you're adding, how much honey you use. But hopefully, because this is a gallon, it'll only take a week and a half, 2 weeks. So if you have any other questions, post them below, or go to bardicbrews.net, and there you'll find some more information about mead, some more recipes, and then also a little a written instruction guide for how to make mead. So if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.